Chris, you're still muted.
I just realized, yes, I just realized, I'm sorry, I've been talking on mute. Very, very professional right here. Okay, welcome into Pucknology pregame. I am your host, Mr. S at Chris JWS, or you can just, hit me on Twitter at that same handle. Man, that just threw me all off right there. So it is the eve of Game 3 in the Stanley Cup Finals. We are still talking Sharks hockey in June. Welcome everybody. If you're new here, subscribe below. Little red button. Check out pucknology.net. We got all your Sharks coverage, everything you could ever want, and also especially check out our SoundCloud for Teal Tinted Glasses, as well as this channel here. We have interviews that recently went up with Jamie Baker and Jeff Merrick. Very good stuff, and there will probably be more to come as hopefully the series keeps on going. So I am joined today by Drew Weber, one of our writers at pucknology.net. You can find him on Twitter at puckoverglass. How's it going, Drew?
Pretty well. Let's get game three in the bag and hopefully jump back into the series.
Definitely. So I mean, let's get right into what's going on right now. So first, before anything else, a quick little stick tap respect. Muhammad Ali died yesterday. Condolences to his family. Very, very influential sports figure. So, that kind of to me that transcends all sports. Like that's just you can't even not talk about that. And on to the game stories. So first one, and this is the one that got people in a little panic this morning when I woke up. Tomas Hertl is out for Game 3. They said yesterday him not skating was a maintenance day, but he is officially out, and it looks like Carlson will be taking his spot. So, Drew, what's your take on this?
I mean, that's a huge loss for San Jose. Hurdle has been without a doubt the best forward the Sharks have had in this series. Plus 15 Corsi against the Penguins. And actually, Ian and I were talking about this last night. Hurdle has been able to find the open ice while Joe Thornton and Joe Pavelski have been double teamed. So his ability to find that open ice is going to be sorely missed in Game 3 and potentially the rest of the series. I mean, I feel like if he's missing a Stanley Cup final game, he may be done.
Yeah, that's what worries me is that it might be more than just today, and they might not let that on because I don't think they want to give the Penguins any more information than they have to. But you're right that I think he's seen the most open ice in part because I think he's worked hard for it. He's been playing hard, but also yeah, when the two Joes are out there, they've been getting a lot of the attention of the Penguins defense, and I mean that's what's been helping to suffocate the offense a bit is they've just focused like heck on those two. So it's going to be on Carlson, who it looks like he's in on the first line. It's going to be on whether it's the Burns Martin pair or the Braun Vlasic pair, whoever's playing behind that line, to take advantage of the open ice that the two Joes are going to create. Make sure we're spacing everybody out, and there's going to be opportunities there. Like I think some of the best opportunities in Game 2 came from that line. Not a lot of it really manifested itself, but there's the chances are there, right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, yes, San Jose has been outplayed this series, but with a lucky bounce, and Ian said this last night too, with a lucky bounce, you could have won either one of those games. So they're getting the chances. You hit 4 posts in Game 2. If you get a little bit more puck luck, you have a chance at this game, even without Tomas Hertl.
Yeah, I think they need more puck luck and more possession, but we'll get into possession because that's a whole animal to itself. Slushy asking in the chat, who's going to take a spot on the number 2 power play? I mean, it's a good question. What do you think?
Ooh, I wouldn't be surprised to see Carlson take that spot too, because I don't think Carlson's already on a power play unit yet. So I could see him taking it unless they want to do another center.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, my guess would probably be Carlson as well. I guess it. I don't think. Yeah, I hadn't seen Kerr's tweet anything about who was on the second unit power play. I mean, he might also try a couple different. I mean, assuming we get more than one power play, he might try a couple different guys in that spot to see what clicks. And
Right.
he might already have someone in mind, whether it's Carlson or anybody. And I don't think though whatever happens, the only change will be the second unit. There's no way he's messing with that top unit. That top unit, when they're given an opportunity, is lethal.
Hmm.
Okay, so yeah, Slushy's also suggesting, may have one of the top unit guys stay on the ice for the whole 2 minutes. I tend to doubt it because, we're talking about a forward here. If he's a defenseman, maybe, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
'cause
I don't think so.
yeah, Brent Burns has done that where he stayed out for both units, but I don't see a forward doing that. I don't think you want to have Thornton or Pavelski out there for too long because you're going to want them back when you're five aside.
Yeah, and maybe I wouldn't say it's out of the question, but I would say probably not since it's a forward versus a defenseman. As a defenseman, I would think there's a better chance of that. So on to the next. So Carlson we mentioned is on the top line. Zubrus is in on the fourth line, which no surprise there. Honestly, he wasn't the guy I wanted scratched last game. Do you think? How do you think these changes are going to work out?
Well, I mean, the reason Zubrus was taken out of the lineup is because of his speed. I mean, Pittsburgh is a very fast team on all four lines, so I can understand why they took Zubrus out. I know a lot of people were saying they wanted Spalling out, and I can understand that too. I would have been fine with that. But I mean, Zubrus is still a very smart hockey player. He may not be the fastest person, may not be the most physically capable, I guess, like the stamina and stuff like that. But he's still very smart. He knows how to play the game well. He makes the right decisions in his own zone. He uses his body for what it should be used for. He's not gooning it up out there, but he's throwing hits. It's just a matter of if that fourth line can get an opportunity to grind it out along the boards, that's where they're successful. But so far, I don't think they've had that chance yet.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think I didn't really want him scratched last game because I don't think he's been a problem. The speed thing is probably the biggest thing, but also he'll also be fresher this game since he's had a game off to let his body recover more because, yeah, at that age, extra day of rest definitely helps. I think a big thing that is important, and Jamie Baker gave him a huge stick tap when we had him on here talking, about it. We asked him kind of who's one of the really, really unsung guys that nobody really talks about or gives a lot of props to, and Zubrus was the guy he honed in on, as like a mentor, as a guy who just brings a lot of the right stuff to the team in terms of just experience and attitude. And I remember one of the things that stood out to me, I think it was before Game 7 with the Preds when I was down there watching warm-ups and all that, was watching kind of how like I didn't think the team looked tense overall, but I know Zubrus was the guy who looked so loose. Like he was kind of just getting there, bumping into guys, kind of messing with them, and little pregame fun. And I think that was the kind of attitude the Sharks need to have. That attitude right now. They can't start tensing up because they lose tonight. The series is essentially over. So
Yeah.
I think that is a good thing. He will bring to the lineup. I think he will try and help keep the team more loose and not like don't tense up, because if you think of this game as oh god, we gotta grip, no, just go out there, play your game, and try to get your game going. Take it one game at a time. So I think that's one of the good things he's going to bring to the lineup is, I won't be down there for the game obviously because I'm here, but I'm guessing when people are watching warm-ups, you'll probably see something very similar, that you'll see him bringing the right attitude that we need there.
Exactly. I mean, Zubrus is he's a good leader. He's been a good mentor. He's keeping everything calm. And then the other thing is, while he's on the ice, he's not making mistakes. I mean, has anyone ever said, "Damn it, Zubrus"? Because I don't think anyone has. I mean, I've seen him play basically a perfect game, at least to the best of his abilities.
Yeah, exactly. I think he maximizes what he has. He doesn't have a ton, but what he has, and yeah, hasn't really been the weak link on the team. Like, we'd like more speed from him, but really he hasn't made bad plays. He hasn't committed bad turnovers or done thing. I mean, he had that one penalty, but that's gonna happen. But overall, yeah, he's a guy who's largely played good hockey, and I think that's kind of an influence we need on the bottom line. If we can't have the speed, at least have a guy who knows the game, knows how to play it well.
Exactly.
So with that, let's go on to a story that's been beat to death in the media. So naturally, we have to beat it a little bit more. And I've had my own takes on this, which is why I wanted to bring this up again. So the Couture-Crosby cheating saga. So first of all, before anything else, a lot of the implications were that Couture was whining or whatever. I didn't take it that way when I read everything, looked at it in context. It seems to me like he was just giving an honest answer, and maybe it's not the correct answer politically. I don't know if you've had a chance to weigh in this one, so you can go with kind of your initial thoughts on this, and then we'll dig a little deeper.
I mean, I wasn't too happy when I saw Couture had said those things. It just seemed very Vancouver Canucky to me. But I mean, I can understand the frustration. I mean, you've worked so hard to get to this point, and then you have some media saying, you know what, he's right. They are cheating, or Crosby is cheating on the faceoffs. But you know what? So is every other centerman. So I mean, I think it's one of those things where unless you're trying to get into the heads of the linesmen, you don't really need to say it. You just have to adjust to it.
Yeah, I think maybe is a little too honest answer, and it could easily be portrayed as whining because I mean, Couture's at times made comments that sounds like he's whining a bit. And like you said, everybody cheats at this. This is what bugged me about it. It's like when initially it sounded like it didn't. When I read everything in context, I don't think he was actually whining. But when I initially thought that that's what he was doing, I was like, are you kidding me here? And especially when I saw some Shark fans agreeing and saying, yeah, cheater. I'm like, okay, there's a reason why the Sharks have been so good on faceoffs year over year over year. And this is something that Drew Amenda has said when asked straight up, why are they so good on faceoffs? He says, well, they cheat. Simple as that. And when we had Brody Brazil on here and the subject of face-offs came up, and the first thing that he went to is like, yeah, they cheat. One of the reasons why they have, and actually no, it wasn't even because of face-offs. It was because AJ was asking, why do the Sharks have so many centers? Why does Doug Wilson have such a hard-on for centers? And Brody Brazil was like, well, this is why they're so good on face-offs. They cheat. So center one goes in, takes a lot of liberties, gets booted out of the circle. Center two can come in. He can play a little closer, a little more close to the rules, and that's so. If when you get away with it with center number one, you win more faceoffs. Worst case, you have another center go in there who's pretty effective, and if they play by the rules a little bit more closely, they might still win anyway. So that's the system. That's what these guys do. It's nothing new at all here.
Right. And even with centers, it's like it's easier to transition from center to wing than it is to transition from wing to center. But you're exactly right. It's like, if you can get away with stuff with your first center, well, why not go for it? I mean, the worst thing that's going to happen is he's going to get kicked out. You just have a second center come in.
Yeah, it's like a free play in football. Like if the guy jumps off sides and you have the ball snap, just lob it down the field. It doesn't matter because you're going to get another play. You have no real consequences. Like the only real consequences of cheating on the first guy is the second guy has to come in. If the second guy is good at taking face-offs, because Thornton will take the first stick down, and if he cheats and gets caught, then Pavelski comes in, plays a little cleaner, and might still win the faceoff anyway. So that's how when the difference between the best team and the worst team, the best teams are like 51, 52%. The worst teams are 49, 48%. Mm-hmm. Those couple faceoffs that add up game over game over game, that's the difference between an average team and a great team is cheating. So it's nothing new. So yeah, I think we've adequately beat this one to death. Checking the chat here to see if anyone had any other than just saying like
I love the back in the day when we had Manny Malhotra and Scott Nickel. They were the top two centermen in the league. So one of them gets kicked out, you just bring the number two centerman in. Those are the days.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Slushy pointing out, the Sharks' first line when Hurdle's in is all natural centers. Yeah, exactly. And that's why you can do that. And I mean, you could even play matchups of who your first guy is into the dot, who the second guy is, depending on who the guy opposing them is. So that's why the Sharks do that. That's for those who don't know why they have so many centers, that's why, because they gotta cheat. But I do think Crosby probably does get a little more space, but Joe probably gets a little more space. I mean. Yeah. Listen to Canucks fans whine about him. They are somewhat correct. He does definitely take his share of liberties, and that's what star centermen do. So, yeah, I think that about touches up on that. I don't think we need to say much more. So, moving on here. So I was listening to Puck Soup earlier, and this kind of irked me a little bit. Is they implied that, they were like, well, we're not going to say San Jose is kind of a fluky team here, but, they've had things kind of go their way, which is basically saying, well, they're not a fluke, but they're a fluke. And I know they're not trying to disparage the Sharks. That got into my skin a little bit. Like, I'm trying to comprehend here how they're a fluke. So I don't know. I'll let you go first, and then I'll have a thing or two to say here.
Well, the short answer is they're not a fluke. I mean, you look at this Sharks team, they absolutely steamrolled the Los Angeles Kings in 5 games. LA only led for 4 minutes in that entire series. You go to the Nashville series. Okay, that series is a little bit tighter, but San Jose hasn't exactly matched up well against Nashville this entire season. They go to 7. They actually annihilate Nashville in game 7. I mean, and that's, taking into consideration the whole game 4 overtime debacle with Joe Pavelski should have been goal. And then they just handed it over to the St. Louis Blues. I mean, they killed them in every category. I remember going into game 6 and writing the pregame, and it was like you look at every category: goals for, goals against, power play, penalty kill, all of those, and the Sharks led in all of those for the entire playoffs against St. Louis. So to say this team is a fluke or had things go its way, I don't see where they can get that, because they destroyed the Western Conference this year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, yeah, in some ways they've definitely gotten better bounces than they have in some years, but that's going to happen. Any team that gets to the finals is going to have good bounces. That's just how it goes. Like you said, they rolled through the Western Conference pretty effectively. Like the Kings, yeah, I mean, the Kings put up a good fight early on, but you win in 5 over a team that has that kind of caliber of players, a team that's won 2 Stanley Cups with the core is still there. They rolled them over. Nashville, who they didn't generally have not been very good against for the last couple of years, who have given them a lot of trouble. They went to 7, but when the cards were down, they steamrolled them in game 7. That game wasn't even close. Like, that game was an absolute mauling. From the get-go. The Sharks were the stronger team against the Blues. Even the first game they lost, they ran them over. Or sorry, I shouldn't say they ran them over, but they were very effective. I thought they were the better team. Then they ran them over in game 2 and 3. They lost game 4. That's the one where you clearly say, yeah, the Blues are better. But they were the better team beginning to end for the most part in every series. And yeah, it's not fluky. And right now the Pens look like the better team, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
That might be the case, and that might be what happens here. And this is Ian pointing out in the chat, the Pens are a shitty matchup for the Sharks. I remember I said around the beginning of the playoffs, one of the reasons why I thought the team could maybe go deep was that the teams that gave them the most trouble usually is the shitty teams. What all the shitty teams have in common? They usually had a lot of speed. They had a lot of guys who were just pushing the pace constantly, and those teams, though, were in the end they were shitty because usually they were a little bit suspect on the back end, suspect goaltending, suspect defense, but they could give the Sharks fits in transition if they fed the transition. And that, the Flames, the Oilers, teams like that weren't necessarily good but had a lot of speed. And that's unfortunately what the Pens have a lot of, and they're a lot more solid in the back end than any of those teams.
Oh, definitely. It's like, I was actually thinking about this earlier, is this Sharks team is built to go through the West's best teams. I mean, they go through the LAs, they can go through, St. Louis. I mean, heck, I feel like they could have had a pretty good series even against Chicago. But then you take this Penguins team that is completely different from what the Sharks have been facing this entire season, and they just don't have the counter for it. I mean, this team it's not the fastest team. The Sharks aren't the fastest team. They're pretty big, especially that fourth line. They like to grind it out. But the Penguins, on the other hand, if they're fast enough, I mean, they can keep control of the puck, and San Jose can't use their size advantage at all.
Yep. And we're about to get into that in a few minutes. Before we talk about keys to the game, though, how exciting is this tonight? That first ever Stanley Cup final game in San Jose, and I really, really want this to go our way, but it's amazing. I don't know. Are you San Jose native, or because I am? I don't know. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I was born here. It's like I've been waiting. I'm only 22 right now, or I'm 21. I'm going to be 22, but it's like I've been waiting for this moment basically my entire life. I've been watching the team for as long as I can remember. I've never wanted anything more than for the Stanley Cup final to come to San Jose. And it's like, now that moment's here. Now I can see Patrick Marleau, who I've been watching basically my whole life. I can see him play for the puck or play for the cup. So, I mean, I'm sure a lot of the fan base feels that way. A lot of the fan base, season ticket holders since 91 kind of thing, feel the same way. So it's exciting.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, yeah, I was born here. I'm 30-ish. Not going to say exactly how old, but I'm 30-ish. I was born here. I remember when the Sharks came here. I've lived in San Jose almost my entire life. So this is big, and I'm still comprehending it's real. It feels a little less real after those first two games, but whatever. It is what it is, and they're going to get two shots to win a game here. And no matter what happens, this is still the best team in Sharks history. If they fall short, well, you know what? That's sports. That's how sports goes sometimes. And with that, let's get on to the keys for the game, because that is why we're here, right? Let's talk about it. So for anyone who's watching, if you want to tweet at us with your ideas, your keys to the game. We're following the chat as best we can, but it's a little hard with two people. So you have your keys. Feel free to tweet them. I'm at ChrisJWS. He's at Puck_over_glass. Right? I think
That is correct.
Respect every underscore there,
Unfor-
even if AJ doesn't.
Unfortunately, some asshole took puck over glass without any underscore, so I had to deal with that one.
Yeah, they didn't ask you first. What a jerk. Okay, so let's get into the first one, and I think this is the biggest one by far, is possession, and there's a lot of different ways you can measure that. You can measure that in shots, you can measure that in Corsi, which out of fancy stat terms, Corsi just means how many shot attempts you have. So that's the big story is, in games 1 and 2, the Penguins have owned the puck. They've outshot the Sharks. They've out-attempted the Sharks. It's been a little ugly. From your perspective, what do you think they need to do to be able to get back into the game as far as possession goes?
I think they need to. I think it's a lot of it has to do with the breakouts. I mean, I've loved this decor for the most part, but this series they're turning it over in the neutral zone. So I feel like if they can make the safer plays on the breakouts and try to be more composed with the puck, then I feel like, the shot attempts are going to come, the scoring chances are going to come. But right now, we're not getting into the offensive zone because we're turning it over too early in the rush. So I think that's going to be a big thing. Vlasic and Braun are going to play a big part in that. Hopefully, they can clean up their breakouts a bit. But I mean, you look at this team right now, and there's only 5 players who have a positive Corsi, and that's the top line of Thornton, Pavelski, and Hurdle. You have Logan Couture and Jonas Donskoy, and then you have Brent Burns, and that's it. Everyone else is negative or under. So definitely the bottom lines need to step it up a bit more, and we got to break out cleaner.
Yeah, I think you're right. It really all starts in transition. Like, I think game 2, I saw better things in transition. It wasn't nearly as lopsided as the first game, but really, yeah, it starts there. It starts making the Penguins skate 200 feet every time. Even if the Penguins get the puck and bring it back, don't give them any of these easy turnovers where you let them skate right back into your zone and start attacking again, because there's no way, if you don't have a chance to really stop them in their transition, then they're gonna own the puck all night. So it's getting pucks deep, getting ugly in their zone a little bit, right? Get in there on the forecheck, make them pay the price when they turn and get the puck against the thing. Hit them, make them pay every single time. Cause some turnovers, because I think that's the key. Is the Sharks got to get their chip and chase, their forechecking game going, because that's really what I mean against like St. Louis. I remember the fans St. Louis that I talked to, a lot of them were just like, they just frustrate the shit out of us because they can't get the puck out of their zone because the Sharks are just constantly swarming on top of them and making their life hell trying to get through the neutral zone. So I think that's where it's got to start. It's got to start by getting the puck in deep and then making the Penguins' lives hard.
Absolutely. I think it comes down to, San Jose needs to play its game. It needs to play that big-bodied game. Right now they're trying to play like how Pittsburgh plays, and they can't keep up with that. They don't have the speed for that. They need to be able to get possession in the zone, do that dump and chase, and just grind it out. And they haven't done that yet.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not, I mean, they can't match Pittsburgh speed, and it's something we've said all season. Sharks got to play their game. They can't get caught up trying to play the other team's game. We say if you try to play LA's game against them, you're going to get beat because LA is the best team at doing that game. If you try to play Pittsburgh's game against them, they're going to get beat because that's not your game, and they're way better at it than you. So you gotta kind of dictate that they have to play. It's like just to use a basketball analogy, a half court team versus a full court kind of philosophy. Like the Sharks kind of play like kind of a half court philosophy. Like you gotta make that other team work through every part of the court. You can't just let them run end to end like Pittsburgh wants to. They want to turn it into a track meet. No, make them have to work the puck out of their zone. Make them work the puck to the neutral zone. Make them work to get the puck back in your zone. Don't allow teams to skate right in and take shots and get their cycle going. Because when they do that, they're going to get a lot of shots. They're going to own the puck for long periods of time, and that's going to wear your guys out. Any more thoughts on that before we go on to the next one?
Not really. I think we covered it all.
Yep. So line and pair adjustments. I mean, there haven't really been many adjustments made by DeBoer all postseason. He hasn't needed to, but last I heard, I think Couture or Marleau was still skating with the second line as of this morning. So I'm not too happy because it feels like DeBoer, I don't know, maybe he'll make other adjustments, but it feels like he's going with the same line matchups, and I think he needs to make some changes here. What do you think?
I agree. He definitely needs to start making some changes now. I mean, I've liked DeBoer's coaching this season. I've liked what he's done with Thornton. I like how he's adjusted the lines as he sees fit. I think moving Marleau back up to the second line when he did was the right time to do it, and it's paid off. But now against this Pittsburgh team where you have the three-headed monster of Crosby, Malkin, and Kessel all on different lines, I think you got to do something like move Marleau back down to the third line so he can match up against Malkin or Kessel. And I think, although I doubt they're going to do it, I think DeMello should slot in instead of Pollock, because what have Pollock and Dillon done this series? They haven't done much.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I think it is a good thing about DeBoer that he has kind of remained faithful in the process, because, you know, he hasn't been reactionary like, oh, we had a bad game, we need to just scramble everything now. He's been a little more along the lines of, if the play is there but the results aren't, don't panic. Like, you know, after game one in St. Louis, the play was there, the results weren't, so he just kept rolling with that and it paid off. But I think in this case, the play isn't there either. The results aren't there, but the play is definitely not there. And I think that starts, with the third line matchup. That's the big thing. Because right now that HBK line is eating our third and fourth lines whenever they're out there against them. They're eating them alive right now. Especially Chris Tierney's been one of the biggest victims. And it's not because he's not a good player, but he's not ready for that. I don't think he's ready for that. So you need to put Marleau down there and kind of start spreading your depth to three lines a little better. And then, like you said, I think it's time to put in DeMello for Pollock. I think Roman Pollock is terrible. Dillon is usually kind of a little sporadic, but if you give him a good partner, he can be not too big of a liability. He can do a lot of good things. He can move the puck. He's mobile. He can make some good outlet passes. So he's not really the problem right now. It's more Pollock. I mean, that turnover the Pollock committed was just atrocious. Like, throw it behind the net, you idiot. Mm-hmm. What are you doing? So I'm still a little irked at that one.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard some comments today on Twitter about Paul Martin. The reason why I would say, I think, yes, Paul Martin needs to play better, but the thing is, when it's your top liners and your top pair guys struggling, you don't pull them out of the lineup. You try and figure out how to get them going. When your bottom pair and your bottom line guys are struggling that mightily, if possible, you swap them out for someone else. And again, it depends on the circumstance, but that's why I wouldn't say let's pull Paul Martin out of the lineup, because we know we can get it going. He's been very good at times this season, and in a lot of ways, I mean, a lot of things he does don't show up on the score sheet. Balancing out Burns is a pretty daunting task, because Burns is kind of a wild man. So that's my opinion, at least. Anything else there?
Well, it's like Paul Martin's a lot like Vlasic in the sense that, what he does well doesn't show up on the score sheet. He's a shutdown defenseman. That's why he plays so well with Brent Burns. And honestly, I don't think Paul Martin's been playing all that badly. I mean, he's had a couple of rough shifts. I mean, if you want to fault him on the goal Benito scored in game one, go ahead, fine. But I thought he played actually a really good game one. But, I mean, he's not a bad defenseman. He's going to pick it up. And the same thing with Vlasic. I haven't been too happy with how Vlasic has played this series, but I mean, the player that he is, he's going to bounce back, and so is Paul Martin.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of their struggles can also be attributed to team struggles. It's not like, maybe they're getting some of the low lights themselves, but the whole team is struggling right now,
Mm-hmm.
well, with the exception of Martin Jones.
Right.
So, with that, next key is it's got to be star power. Like it's a cliche, but the big guys they gotta earn their paychecks in this one because if they're going to win this one, it's gonna be coming from Pavelski and Thornton and Burns making some big plays to get them back into the series. Because if it's 2-1, suddenly the series has a whole different feel to it than 0-2. Or sorry, 1-2 versus 0-2. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I was hoping more for from Joe Pavelski. He's scoreless. Joe Thornton hasn't done an insane amount of stuff. Couture still scoreless. Brent Burns doesn't have a goal, although he does have 2 assists, so we'll give him that. But you'd like to see those guys contributing on the scoreboard. And right now, the only big guy I could think of that's contributed is Patrick Marleau, unless you want to call Hurdle, one of the big guys. But Patrick Marleau had that wraparound goal in game one. And aside from that, I mean, they've been shut down.
Yeah. So not a lot there. I mean, that's what I say. It's a little bit of a cliche, but it is worth mentioning. Like the big guys, it's got to start with them tonight because they got to step up and play big. I mean, we need depth contributions too, but the big guys got to play like big guys because if we're getting beat, if all 4 lines are getting beat, they have no chance. They need to win those 1 and 2 line matchups or at least play them to a draw.
Yeah.
So next thing I add is the Sharks need to take some liberties. Like if there's one thing we've noticed is the refs aren't calling a whole lot. The Sharks need to maybe play a little dirtier, grab a little more, hook a little more because the Penguins are getting away with it left and right. So fair's fair, right?
Absolutely. I think you gotta start laying those hits. You gotta start, cheating a little bit because that's what you do at this stage of the game. If you want to win a Stanley Cup, you don't get there cleanly. You gotta, sometimes you gotta take those liberties. And I remember thinking in game two, it was the first time I thought this in a couple of years, and I was just like, the Sharks really need a fight right now, or a big hit or something just to change the momentum kind of thing. Now, a fight's not going to happen in the Cup finals, but I think, if you got Dylan and Polak out there, I mean, hit him. I don't care how hard you hit him. I don't necessarily care how clean the hit is either, as long as you're not like sending a guy into a concussion. I mean, let's be reasonable here. But yeah, you definitely have to take those liberties. I mean, Joe Thornton's punch on Sidney Crosby, fine, go for it. You didn't get called on it.
That was hysterical. I absolutely love that. That was that was awesome. Yeah, I just think they just need to do a little more grabbing, a little more. I mean, but the thing I know it's going to happen is the first hooking call or the first holding call of this series. It's going to go against the Sharks because cruel irony, right?
No, of course.
I mean, that's how the universe usually treats the Sharks. So I fully expect that the first time one of those things gets called, even though it's been going on all of the first 2 games, it will be against the Sharks, just because that's how it goes, right? Okay, so that's all I had for keys, and I didn't really get anything on Twitter other than Slushy asking to please come on. I'm sorry, Slushy, not today. No Slushy. And go back to sending questions. Maybe we'll do that. Okay. So before we close out here, you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to get off your chest?
You know what? Just enjoy the Cup final. Yeah, it's been 25 years. It's the first time any of us have ever seen the Sharks play in it. So no matter what happens, just try to enjoy the event. It's going to be a great time.
Absolutely. And just win the game. Go with the Ray Ratto advice here because, that's honestly, it's what they got to do. They got to win tonight. Period. This is a must-win game. It's over if they don't win it tonight. So with that, I'm going to close out here. Check out pucknology.net. We got a whole lot of content, everything you could ever want. Even in the off season, there's going to be a lot of coverage of prospects, all that good stuff. We have interviews up on there with Jamie Baker and Jeff Merrick. You can find them on SoundCloud and audio only. You can find them here on YouTube with a little video with them. It's good stuff. Should check it out. There will be more to come, so stay tuned here. If you're new here, subscribe. If you like what we do here, helps us out. We like to be here all the time. So if we're here, you'll know because it'll be in your little inbox. So for Slushy, one thing real quick. I'll do this one more time, and it better work this time. Rally hairline, because he's complaining about his hairline. So hashtag rally hairline.
What's up,
And with
Slushy?
that, and with that, if you're at the tank, get fucking loud tonight because this has never happened before. We've never been here before. Make make that place intimidating. Get loud. You spent $500, so you might as well lose your voice too. And with that, go Sharks. Let's get a win tonight, boys. Have a good evening, everyone.
Matt.